Today we're going to work on creating a deviation chart, bar chart, using Tableau. The first step we want to do is we want to connect to our data source. You can see up here, I've already connected to that. It's the Visits and Labs view from the HIN 115 HbA1c database. You should have access to that. If you don't, let me know, and we can track that down. Okay, so you'll see we're connected. To connect to that, you just data, new data source, and then you find that file and connect. Okay, so here we are. Now what we want to do is, first thing we do is actually, I'm going to relabel my my view at the bottom. I'm just going to call it HbA1c deviation chart. That way, it kind of keeps track of what I'm doing. Okay, so the instructions say to create a new worksheet using the Visits and Labs tab. And we're going to create a deviation chart that summarizes the average HbA1c values for patients of the Rustic clinic. We want to summarize that by the deviation off of a target of 8, okay, by provider. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to take our clinics, and we're going to put our clinics here on the filter mark, and we're just going to select a Rustic, click apply. Okay, and the next thing we want to do is move our providers up into the rows so we have our nice list of providers. Now this database actually covers several years worth of data, and so for this exercise we can just choose 1 year. Since 2016 looks to be the most complete, I'm just going to pick that. So I'm going to drag our years over to the filter bar or the filter mark. I'm going to select years, and then I'm just going to select 2016. Apply, and OK. So right now, although we can't see it, it is just 2016. Now the other thing, so down here under our measures, you'll see there's different measures here. Here's our HbA1c values. See, if we add that up, it's going to, right now the current aggregation is a sum. We don't necessarily want the sum. We want to know, because you'll see the sum of all of Baldwin's HbA1c values is actually 196.5. Let's take a closer look at that data. We're going to see that these are all the different patients. We're going to click Show Fields. See all of these different patients, the lab IDs, so on and so forth. But the average HbA1c looks to be right around 5, 6, 8, 9. So that's what we want to get. We don't necessarily want to get the sum. We want to use the average. So we're going to go click on this little triangle here, swing down to the measure aggregation. We're going to choose average. So now you can see that the average for Baldwin is actually closer to 8, 8, 8, and so on. Now, the goal of this exercise is to see how far this average value is 7.55, 77, how far that is off of an HbA1c target of 8. And so, similar to what the book had done, I created a new field called HbA1c off by. And so to do this, you just click on the measures, click over in this area here, create calculated field. You can see that there's, we don't necessarily want that. But we're going to take our HbA1c off by calculation, and we'll just call this off by, we'll put a, actually, what we'll do, even better, we'll just put a space in here so that we know that's the same thing as this. And we're going to take our, excuse me, average, HbA1c, and we're going to subtract that by a target of 8. Typically there'll be a field, if you have multiple fields, there'll be a field in here that has a target, whatever. Right now it's going to be a constant number of 8, and so we're going to use our HbA1 offside by 8. So if we do that, you'll see our HbA1c off by measure. We're going to drop that right there. We're actually going to pull that off because we're not too interested in that anymore. And so now we have our list of providers, and you can see that these are different values showing, what is our HbA1c off by. So for Fairfield here, the HbA1c, the average HbA1c, is off by it's 0.64 less than the target of 8. Okay, so that in itself is pretty good information. And so to kind of clear that up, let's just add that to the detail tab, right? We're going to change this to average. And so now, if you hold that up, you'll see that the average HbA1c is 7.36. The target is, remember, is 8. And so 7.8 minus 0.64 is 7.36. Now this is kind of messy. You can see that actually Topsum down here is greater than 8. So the average HbA1c is 8.1. But to kind of clean this up and make it look nice, I like to take this and sort it. We're going to sort it by the HbA1c off by. And we're going to go ascending. So it's going to be the lowest numbers at the top and the highest numbers at the bottom. Kind of click outside or click to close that. And so now you can see Fairfield has the greatest deviation off of the target, while Topsum has the greatest deviation above the target. And that's how we make a deviation chart. One last thing before we wrap it up, we're actually going to add the title. So you can see if I hover over this, you'll see a little type section for a title. Double click on that. We're just going to change this to summary of HbA1c deviations from target of 8 by provider for the took clinic. Okay. And this is going to be in the year of 2016. And there we have it. Click apply. We have our okay. We have our nice title at the top. We have our labels down here. In fact, we could even change the axis to say deviation from target. Okay, click that, and there we have it. Alright, that concludes how to make a deviation chart.